I never thought I'd be the guy posting something like this, but here I am. My name's Mike, and I've been married to Jenna for about 6 years now. We had a lot of good times, but lately, things felt off. She's always been the kind of girl who likes to keep her independence, sometimes a little too independent. She's smart, pretty, confident to a fault, honestly, and she's not exactly the most honest person in the world when it comes to her own flaws. Still, I trusted her, or at least I thought I did. We had our routine, and I guess I was naive enough to think that was enough. The signs started subtly. She'd come home late sometimes with no explanation, just a quick work thing or stressed out at the office. I'd ask her about it and she'd brush it off, get bitchy, and tell me I was overreacting. She'd say I was paranoid, that she wasn't hiding anything, that I was just insecure. But I know her better than that. She's a master at lying, and I've seen her do it so many times I could practically call it out in my sleep now. Then, last month during our anniversary trip, our big getaway, our special weekend, things got really weird. We planned a weekend away in the mountains, a chance to disconnect, reconnect, whatever. I was excited, thinking maybe this was the moment we'd finally fix some of the cracks, but that whole weekend Jenna was different. She was distracted, secretive, like she had something to hide. I'd catch her sneaking her phone, texting, then quickly hiding it when I looked over. Little things, but enough to make me suspicious. And she was more bitchy than usual, snapping at me over nothing. That's when I started piecing it together. Something was wrong. It all exploded when I found her phone. I was in the bathroom just looking for a charger, and I saw a message pop up on her screen. It was from some guy, her boss, I later found out, talking about plans to meet up after work. The message was flirty, suggestive. My heart sank. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. I stared at it, reading every word, my mind racing. I felt a cold dread settle over me. How long had this been going on? Was this the reason she was so distant lately? And then I saw the time, last month during our anniversary trip. It was like everything clicked into place in one horrible moment. I didn't say a word at first. I just sat there holding her phone, trying to process what I'd just seen. My mind was spinning, confused, angry, betrayed. I wanted to believe she was lying, that it was some kind of mistake, but deep down I knew better. How could she lie so easily? How could she look me in the eyes and tell me she was faithful? I wanted to scream, to cry, to do something, anything to make sense of this. But I just sat there holding her phone, feeling like I'd been hit by a freight train. After I stared at that message for what felt like an eternity, I finally decided I couldn't just brush it off. I needed to confront her, wanted to see what she'd say, how she'd spin this. I slipped out of the bathroom, trying to keep my hands from trembling, and found her in the bedroom. She was lying on the bed, scrolling through her phone, looking indifferent. When I walked in, she looked up, her eyes narrowing a little, like she already knew what I was about to say. "Who's this?" I asked, holding her phone out. My voice was hoarse, trembling with a kind of raw rage I'd never felt before. She looked at me, her face frozen for a second, then she gave a dismissive laugh. "Seriously, that's just some guy from work. You're overreacting as usual." She rolled her eyes, trying to brush it off like it was nothing. But her voice sounded defensive, almost angry, defensive because she knew I'd seen what I saw. I pushed the phone closer. "This was last month, Jenna, during our anniversary trip. What were you doing with your boss? Were you fucking him? Tell me the truth." I could feel my hands trembling, my heart pounding so loud I thought she'd hear it. She sat up, scoffing. "Oh, come on, you don't believe that, do you? It's just some stupid joke, a misunderstanding. You're paranoid. You always jump to conclusions." She was lying, I could tell. Her voice was trying to be dismissive, but there was a crack in her tone, like she was trying too hard to sound convincing. I lost it. "You've been lying to me for months. That's why you've been so distant. You've been sleeping with your boss, haven't you? You've been cheating, lying, sneaking around, while I was out here thinking everything was fine." My voice cracked, and I could feel the tears prickling at the corner of my eyes, but I fought them back. I wanted her to admit it, to finally come clean. Instead, she just looked at me with that bitchy, condescending smirk. "First of all," she said, crossing her arms, "you're crazy. You always blow things out of proportion. And second, that's none of your business. I do what I want. If I want to sleep with my boss, I will. You don't own me." Her words hit me like a slap. I couldn't believe she was this cold, this unapologetic. It was like she didn't even care that she was destroying everything we'd built. I felt my stomach churn, rage boiling under the surface, but also this sinking sadness, realizing I'd been completely blind to her lies. The rest of that night was a blur. I remember trying to talk, trying to get her to understand how much she hurt me, but she just kept brushing me off, throwing her lies like punches. She told me I was overreacting, that I was insecure, that I should mind my own damn business. But I knew the truth. I couldn't trust her anymore. Every word she said from that moment on felt like a lie. Every look she gave me a betrayal. I felt hollow, betrayed, and absolutely furious. That's when I knew I had to do something, but I wasn't sure what yet. The next few days were a living hell. I'd wake up in the morning expecting her to come home, but she'd be out late, probably with him, I'd assume. And I'd sit in our quiet apartment, staring at her side of the bed, feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep. Every time I tried to talk to her, she'd dismiss me, accuse me of overreacting again, or accuse me of being jealous and insecure. Honestly, I wasn't even sure what I was feeling anymore. Anger, heartbreak, betrayal, all mashed together in this horrible, tangled mess. One afternoon, I decided I needed to see if she'd slip up again, that maybe I could catch her in the act, or at least find more proof. So I went through her emails, her social media. I was desperate. I found nothing explicitly new, but I did find a bunch of flirty messages between her and her boss, nothing explicit but enough to make me sick. I also found a bunch of receipts from hotel stays and dinners, all during the nights I thought she was at work or out with friends. The worst part, there was a pattern. They had been seeing each other behind my back for weeks, maybe even months, and she lied through her teeth about everything. I knew I had to confront her again, but this time I was ready. I downloaded some of her recent messages, printed them out, and made a plan. I wanted her to admit it outright, that I deserved that much. I waited until she came home that evening. She was in her usual bitchy mood, and I just laid the papers out on the table. Her eyes widened when she saw them, and her face went pale. I could see the panic, the guilt, but she tried to play it off like I was making a big deal out of nothing. "Jenna," I said, my voice low and trembling, "you've been lying to me for months. These messages, these receipts, what the hell is this? You've been sleeping with your boss, haven't you? How long has this been going on?" She looked at me, then at the papers, and managed a bitter, sarcastic laugh. "Oh, so now you think you're Sherlock Holmes, huh? You're so paranoid. You think everyone is out to get you. Maybe I just needed someone better than you." Her words cut deep. I felt like my stomach was twisting in knots. She tried to deny everything, of course. Said it was all a misunderstanding, that I was just insecure and imagining things. She threw in some bullshit about how she'd never cheat on me, but that I was too controlling, that she needed excitement. I couldn't stand it. Every word out of her mouth made me feel more numb, more betrayed. I knew the truth was staring me right in the face, but she still refused to own up. That's when I realized I'd been a fool to trust her at all. The girl I married was just a lie. After she finished her pathetic excuse, I just stared at her, feeling this mix of rage and sadness bubbling up inside. I couldn't believe I had wasted years trusting someone who so easily threw it all away for some stupid, meaningless sex with her boss. I was furious, but there was also this deep disappointment I couldn't shake. I thought I knew her, thought we had something real. Turns out I was just fooling myself. I told her to leave, told her I didn't want to see her face again, not until she was honest and took responsibility. She scoffed, acting like I was overreacting, like she was the victim. But I wasn't about to let her twist this around. She packed her bags, gave me that bitchy smirk, and said she'd be back to pick up her stuff. Yeah, right, I didn't want her back. I wanted her gone for good. That night I sat alone in the apartment, surrounded by her silence and the cold reality of what I'd discovered. I kept replaying everything, her lies, her sneers, the betrayal. I felt a strange mixture of relief and despair. Relief, because I finally knew the truth, and despair because I realized I'd been living a lie all along. I kept asking myself, how did I not see it? How did I let her get away with this for so long? I'd always been the guy who believed in honesty, in loyalty. Now I just felt hollow, like I'd been punched in the gut and left to bleed out. The emotional toll hit me hard. I was angry at her, sure, but mostly I felt a crushing sense of loss. I'd lost the woman I thought I knew, the woman I loved, and I'd lost the trust I once had in myself, in my judgment. Every moment I tried to build something real with her, I was just fooling myself. I looked around at the empty apartment, and for the first time in my life, I questioned everything. Was I even capable of trusting anyone again? Was this the end of my marriage? The end of my belief that I could find someone who truly cared? I didn't have any clear answers, just the gnawing feeling that I'd been betrayed in the worst way possible. And as much as I wanted to rage or cry, all I could do was sit there, staring at the dark ceiling, wondering how I got to this point and whether I could ever come back from it. Over the next few days, I kept replaying everything in my head, trying to make sense of it all. I'd sit at work, staring at my computer, but my mind kept drifting to her, thinking about how she lied, how she cheated, how she didn't even bother to hide it anymore. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her smirking at me with that look she always had when she knew she was getting away with something. It was like a punch to the gut every single time. I felt so damn stupid for trusting her, for thinking that she cared about us, about me. I decided I needed to get some space. I changed the locks, told her not to come back, and blocked her on everything. I couldn't handle the constant reminder of her betrayal. Honestly, I didn't even want to see her face anymore. She'd been nothing but a liar and a cheat. I spent hours just walking around the apartment, looking at the empty spaces where she used to be, trying to process it all. The shock was starting to wear off, replaced by this cold, hollow numbness. I'd always believed in honesty, loyalty, respect, things I thought she valued. Turns out she was just pretending. I started reaching out to friends for support. Some of my closest buddies knew bits of what happened, but I didn't go into all the details right away. Honestly, I just needed someone to talk to, someone who wouldn't judge me. The hardest part was admitting I'd been so blind for so long. I kept asking myself, how did I not see it? Was I that terrible of a husband? Did I miss the signs? Or was she just that good at hiding it? Either way, I felt like I'd lost a part of myself in all this mess. The emotional roller coaster was relentless. I swung between wanting to confront her again, to call her out, to scream at her, and wanting to just forget everything and move on. But I knew deep down that I couldn't pretend this didn't happen. I had to face the reality that I'd been betrayed in the worst way possible. The trust I'd once had was shattered, and I didn't know if I'd ever be able to rebuild it. For now, I just kept telling myself that I deserved better. I deserved someone who wouldn't lie, cheat, or betray me. I kept repeating that, trying to steel myself for whatever came next. Honestly, I don't know if I'm strong enough to fix this or if I'll just end up walking away. I've never felt so lost in my life. But I do know one thing. I'll never let myself get blindsided like this again. I've learned the hard way what betrayal really looks like, and I've got to find a way to move forward, without her, without the lies. I just wish I could go back and do things differently, but reality is I can't. Now all I have to do is figure out what the hell comes next. In the aftermath of everything, I've come to realize just how much trust can be broken in a single moment. The betrayal cut so deep I thought I'd never recover from it. But time, strangely enough, has started to help dull the pain, even if the scars are still there. I've learned that no matter how much you want to believe in someone or in the vows you took, people can surprise you, sometimes in the worst ways. I've started focusing on myself now, took up new hobbies, cut out the toxic people who only added to my stress. I've begun to rebuild a little, piece by piece, trusting that I deserve better than someone who lies and cheats. I won't pretend I'm completely over it. Some nights are still hard, and there's a part of me that feels stupid for trusting her at all. But I know I can't live in that place forever. Looking back, I wish I'd seen the signs sooner, but I also realize that some things are just hard to pick up on when you're caught up in the routine. The biggest lesson I've learned is that honesty is everything. If someone can lie so effortlessly, then there's no real foundation to build on. I won't let this experience define me, but I definitely won't forget it. It's made me smarter, tougher, more cautious, but also more aware of what I need from a partner. I don't regret confronting her, even if it was painful, because in the end I needed to see the truth for what it was, no matter how ugly. I needed to hear it from her mouth, see her lies crumble so I could finally start healing. And I've learned that sometimes walking away is the only way to heal. No matter how much you loved someone, no matter how much you wanted it to work, if they're not willing to be honest or loyal, then it's better to let go. So here I am, a little battered, a little wiser. Still hurt, still cautious. But I'm moving forward. Maybe alone for now, but I believe I'll find someone who values honesty and respect, someone who won't betray me like Jenna did. I've realized that my worth isn't defined by her lies or her betrayal. It's defined by how I choose to move past it. And I choose to keep going, to trust myself again, and to never let anyone deceive me like that ever again.